Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Retro Gamers podcast, episode number 231. Larry here.
And Anthony here.
And as you can tell, if you're watching on YouTube or Instagram, if I remember to continue posting on Instagram, you see we have a third Hollywood Square with us today.
Somebody hacked into our feed.
Absolutely. And in the center square is actually a friend, Ant. I know you've known him here, so you can do the honors.
Yep. This is Jack.
There you go.
That's it. I'm done.
Hey, everybody.
What's going on, Jack? How are you? Welcome to the show.
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Nah, no problem.
No problem. Look, you know what? Every once in a while, like we need to have a third person because I want to kill Larry sometimes. So I need that neutral party in here to keep me sane.
I get that from everybody. You, Frank on the better half, my mailman. I don't get it. Why does everyone
Frank is not your mailman?
No, actually not. No,
I know.
Shockingly. Yeah, but he was a mailman from my ex-girlfriend. So that's a whole different ballgame.
Oh, I feel so bad for whatever happened to her mail.
So, well, hey, you know
Jack,
what I'm talking
Jack,
about.
welcome to the show.
Well, thanks.
And thank you for being an actual listener. He's somebody who has actually listened or watched our show, which I apologize for.
No, I have the same problem as Larry does with the retro game collecting, so we're amongst good friends here.
Oh, good.
This is a safe space.
Safe space.
This is a very safe space until we start to threaten Larry, and then it becomes very unsafe.
As long as I don't turn the camera around, I'm good to go.
Yeah, or when my cat invades, which he does all the time.
I can deal with the pop vinyls.
That's a whole other conversation, not for this show.
See some of the ones I got. In any event, yeah. So we got a topic here this week that I think is really going to be cool. Jack, this topic that we're going to talk about may, maybe enlightening for some, educational for others. Little seedy maybe at some points because of what we're going to talk about. Something that what is he doing? Is he asleep? Is he alive?
Yeah, I don't know. He's just staying still.
Is it? Good Lord. That's narcolepsy.
I really think are you sleeping?
That's a good cat.
Holy
cat.
cow.
You're a good cat.
Any other cat would have just...
Okay, go away.
It's like a Bengal tiger. We're going to talk about some cool stuff this week.
Call
Jack,
me Carol Baskin.
First of all, I don't know if you want to give a little bit about background on yourself, or you want to tell our fans, our friends, give us a little a bio, if you will.
Great. Yeah. So growing up, I was always interested in electronics, and I was lucky enough to have an uncle that kind of just taught me and walked me through how to do things. Well, he was a professional electrician in Poland, so he designed circuits too. They were just generally really great at doing everything back then. So when I got to college, I chose computer engineering as my path, which is circuit design and chip design. And then once I graduated, no jobs for that. So I went into like IT and stuff. So professionally now I'm a site reliability engineer at a health tech company, but on the side, I still have that electronics and like that drive and that passion for that stuff, which works out well for retro gaming consoles because they need love and they need work.
No, that's awesome. And that sounds like the career path I originally wanted, but instead I was doing stupid programming in college. I'm like, I hate this.
I did the same thing. I started in computer science. I did that for a year, and I was like, I will probably kill myself by 30 if I keep doing this.
Yeah, it was fun. Back then, they didn't have a track for that. So it was computer science and electrical engineering. So we took both degrees and got one. So
you should go back and tell them, be like, since you've split that up now, I'd like my other degree, please.
I'm sure they'd love that.
Yeah, we found this on the floor. Here you go.
Here, exactly. It's like, here's a leftover degree.
So
that'll be $28,000.
There you go. So all right. So you definitely have the back. It sounds like you have not only the passion for like this whole world and craze of retro gaming, but you have the actual knowledge to be like, well, if that doesn't work like that, but I wanted to get it to do like that, maybe I can make it do it. A little hands-on approach.
And just so you know, since Larry and I are pretty much just retro game enthusiasts, all of this information, like any information you're going to be sharing with us on this side of it all is going to be all new to us. So you're going to get a lot of wide eyes and oohs.
Sounds good.
And also, yeah.
The same thing with me. I mean, going through all this like process of trying to figure out why my NES is not working great on my new HDMI computer, new HDMI TV was just an enlightening process for me as well. So this was just like good to share with other people in my journey and why I did things.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Let's start. I always like to kind of give it, like, for guests, I like to give this question. What was the system that you started with? What was the first one that you played that you're like, you know what, this is pretty cool?
So my first system was my Atari 2600, and
All right.
my dad
Good
brought it home.
man.
He goes, "You love ET. You're gonna love this system." And I was like, "What the hell is this? This is the worst experience ever. Like, I don't understand what's going on." But got some more games, and then they bought me a Sega Master System after that, and things opened up to the NES. And after that, so
Nice. I'm sorry.
Oh
Tony.
yeah, I've
NES, yep.
yes.
Sorry.
I've noticed that when I've had conversations with Jack outside of the show, I have noticed the SNES
the SNES. Yeah, I do that.
comes up and comes out of your mouth.
I'm a
That,
SNESer. Yeah.
Larry considers sacrilege.
Jack, it was fun having you on the show. So
Good to
we're
be
gonna move on. All right, cool. So we're talking old school, and you're dating yourself, which is good to hear from me and Anthony. At least we're in common ground here.
If my hairline hasn't done that, then that's good.
That's why I'm wearing a hat. So
All good here.
yes, no, you're surviving. So were you more now?
It's what's underneath that's not.
That's all of us, and that's why we're here. This is more of a support group than anything else.
Truth.
So, would you say, which side of the fence were you on then, like in the height of the console war?
Nintendo.
Sega or Nintendo? There you go. All right, I like it.
All right.
I was a hardcore Nintendo enthusiast.
All right, good. Not Sega, as Larry says, Sega.
I loved my Segas, but just loved Mario. And part of that was just like being able to play with my family. It was one game that like my uncle loved, that everyone in my family loved. So it was just like more of a couch gaming kind of experience. Whereas like Sega, they're like, oh, that's cool, and no one would like want to play with me except for my friends. So
Well, there you go. That just makes the decision for you.
yep.
Awesome. So all right, so then you got this the love of gaming, definitely a Nintendo enthusiast in the beginning. I mean, we all were really. Some people may have been labeled as snobs, but whatever. I just shake that off.
Or
So-
you just embrace it fully like you've done for 20 some odd years.
Not anymore. Not with the systems I'm buying
Oh,
recently.
no, that's right. We've hit 30 years.
Yes. Oh, almost, right? Holy cow.
Yeah. Yeah, we old.
So, so Jack, let me ask you a question then. You've listened to the show, and I'm sure you've heard of my plights and everything like that with, trying to recollect a lot of these old systems. Do you like still have a lot of your collection?
I not only have a lot in my collection, but I did expand that significantly. So I have, if you know the IKEA Billy bookshelves, I
Yes.
have about 2 of them right next to me over here, full of retro gaming consoles, from the Famicoms to Dreamcast to all the Sega Genesis models, including the CDX. Thankfully to my friend who gave it to me.
You have the CDX.
I do have a
I've
CDX.
been looking for one of those forever.
And I would never buy one because of the cost.
That's why
But my
yes.
friend's like, here you go. I fell off my chair. Yeah, it's just such a
Wow.
nice gesture. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay, so is your friend also going to give you the TurboGrafx CD, because that's the other one?
I was never a TurboGrafx fan, so I just can't invest into the hardware. I love the games, but I just can't with
Yeah.
my budget.
Well,
afford a
and you know
TurboGrafx
what? The
stuff.
mini that they came out with has a lot of the like really like heavy hitters from the
Yep.
TurboGrafx 16. So if you have that, I think you're set.
Yeah, and I'm into more now. I'm starting to collect all the gaming consoles for the portable gaming consoles. So I'm going from Wonder Swan all the way up. I have
Oh,
like,
wow.
all the Game Boys, and one thing that's missing is that PC Engine GTX or the GT, which is that nice little thing. So I've been like
Yeah.
trolling Yahoo auctions right now to try to get one of those. But
Nice.
TurboGrafx Express, basically, right?
yep,
Yeah.
yeah,
Very cool.
exactly.
We may talk afterwards. I think I saw one recently, but they are pricey.
They're very
So
pricey.
yeah, it's ridiculous. All right, so definitely you're into this world of collecting and everything like that. Do you still like have a lot of the old systems hooked up, or like have you kind of gone the way of, how do you merge the old with the new? Because you're in the business, you kind of know how this works. And me and Ann have talked about it in the past. Like a lot of these new televisions, like my brand new television literally now has no composite or component input.
Yep.
Some weird connector I got to merge everything into, and that didn't even work.
Yep.
So like everything's HDMI nowadays.
Correct.
So what are your thoughts on now, kind of like how to go retro in 2021? Like how the hell to do it?
So that equates to some things for me is budget. So how much money do you have to spend on this stuff? Because collecting can get very expensive. And even if you can buy it, properly maintaining these consoles so that they run for the next few years is also super expensive if you don't have the background to like mod these consoles or fix them yourself. Sending them to a modder, these are fantastic people and they do great jobs. That can get very expensive. And if you don't maintain these systems, they will degrade and fail. So the more you play them, the more likely they'll degrade and fail. So recently, because of space constraints, I've went the FPGA route, and we'll talk about that a little later, where I don't have to bother my wife and like get a stool and take down the Famicom from the top shelf and plug it in. And we're talking about like plug-in chains from taking the system, putting it into an upscaler, and then putting the upscaler into the TV. And that's one thing, is like video quality. So getting upscalers that add no latency, and you can find these on Amazon, and they'll be like $25 for a cable. You plug it in and suddenly like you feel like you can't even play this console anymore. And that's because they add variable latency sometimes, which means that when from the button push to the actual thing going on the screen, it might be different timings all the time, which is not a great experience.
No,
so
absolutely
things like
not.
the retro tank, like this guy.
I've seen that before.
Yeah, so these are great upscalers. So they'll take composite S video or component video and convert it to an HDMI signal for you to use on a TV, and upscale it so that it properly looks great on the TV, so like by 2x or something else. So
yeah,
that's really cool.
That's pretty cool. And we've kind of talked about that, Ant, in the past. And there's going to be a lot of jargon we're going to be throwing out. So, get your books out, folks. But I think we've all kind of experienced that in some way, shape, or form, especially with new televisions. First of all, latency. And I think it was early on we even talked about it. And
Yes.
Jack, he's already deep diving into it. Oh, and folks, for those listening, you can definitely always as well go and check out the YouTube video, because there'll probably be some stuff we'll be showing that you'll want to see as well. And we'll try and put links in the descriptions as much as we can for a lot of this stuff. But with talking about latency, Jack's saying just like that delay between hitting the button.
Yeah.
I remember going all the way back to the Wii when the Virtual Console was a brand new concept. And I downloaded Super Mario Brothers, and I remember playing it on the Wii, and I'm like, this doesn't feel right. Like, I feel like I'm off by like half a millisecond. But it was enough to completely throw me off the tracks. And then just real quick, and then later on, that's when televisions like started coming out with a game mode. And when I finally flipped that on into game mode, again, that's just a little bit of what you can do, but that right there changed the game literally. I'm like, this is what it feels like.
Yeah, and that's a great point too. Your TVs can actually add latency into the signal chain too. So having a TV that is vetted by like the retro gaming community to be great for gaming and add not too much latency is a good plus. But there's also like, you can take that to the extreme, and they have replacement PCBs for TVs to like add minimal latency. I mean, we're talking, depends on how far off the edge you want to go with this one. So
yeah, exactly. I'm not ripping apart my television to make the change. That'll be one of two things: either the TV breaks or I electrocute myself, and I don't want to do either of those.
Which, if you're doing CRT work and you don't know what you're doing, those big old tubes, don't do it. Don't touch it, because that can easily happen. You can easily shock yourself, and you probably won't
kill yourself.
You can kill yourself if you have like pre-existing.
You could also get superpowers, so it may actually be worth the risk.
That's
6, 12, half a dozen, or the others.
Yeah.
It's like, if I wake up, I may be able to fly.
So latency definitely being an issue. You mentioned FPGA, and this is something that I'm not going to say is new, but maybe like in the world of retro gaming is becoming fairly new in the last year or so, as far as the battle between all these clone systems that I have quite frequently deep dove into, personally and financially. So
we'll talk about that later.
We'll
safe space.
What is FPGA, if you don't mind.
Sure. So, to better explain why and what, so
Here's
let's
a cartoon.
say,
No.
here's a cartoon. um, let's say like back in the days, Nintendo or anything else would take all these off-the-shelf components and make video components onto output things, or CPUs that they would have and modify slightly to be sort of what they needed them to be. And that's why you see these big PCBs with all these components on them, is because they're all off-the-shelf components that are doing different things, right? The next step in that was creating those chips to do most of those functions, called ASICs. So these integrated circuits are pretty much companies going in and designing these chips and the inputs and the outputs of those chips to do what they need to do without having to use all these off-the-shelf components, which gives them a little bit more control over like what that component will do and manufacturing processes, et cetera, right? FPGAs are sort of like that, but instead of being at the factory created for a specific purpose, they're just generic chips that the end user can program. So what you can do is you can take this with using a hardware language that we use to program these chips. You can take and emulate like a Nintendo, let's say, and compress all the electronic components into that chip that you need to make it into a hardware Nintendo. So essentially what you get at the end is a cycle accurate, meaning what the Nintendo would be doing, this chip is doing exactly the same version on this chip. So for the end user, you wouldn't notice the difference, where you, as like with software emulation, you might.
So,
That's really cool. So you're basically taking a Nintendo Entertainment System, like the full case Nintendo Entertainment System, putting it on a chip this big.
Pretty much.
So
yeah.
it is some in even if it, in its lowest denomination, it's still some sort of form of emulation. Kind of, sort of.
Kind of, sort of, but
Okay.
at the hardware level, which means you're diving into transistor level.
Oh, okay,
kind of
okay,
like,
I got you.
and,
I got you.
And circuit logic level,
Okay.
like ANDs and OR gates and everything else like
Right.
that. So,
Well,
Just got flashback to college. Okay.
oh yeah.
I was also going to say it's essentially also like the technological advances of when the Nintendo first came out to where it is today. So in other words, like if the Nintendo Entertainment System was made today, they wouldn't need to make it the way that they did. They could make it the size of a chip. It could be smaller than that.
Yep.
You know, it'd be smaller than that just because of the technology that was in it is obviously so basic compared to today.
Yep.
I was gonna say you can make it the size of a phone. Yeah.
Yeah, if you wanted to. And then essentially it just runs like a Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yeah. And if you look at it, even the processors and like the video input, like let's take the NES, right? And
Look
sorry,
at
Larry.
this. I
Right?
like it.
So you'll see like this is a modded one.
So
Sorry,
we're looking at an opened Nintendo Entertainment System.
Sorry
Which
for
is
the
really
mess
cool
of
and
wires,
looks
right?
I just want to add that it looks nothing like the Lego version that I put together a few months ago.
No.
You didn't have to put all that together. Okay.
No.
So this is a modded one for RGB out, but if you see like these are the CPUs here and these are the graphics processing over here, or actually that's inverted CPU graphics. These are all just ICs that can be emulated versus with the FPGA in hardware. So you're just recreating whatever this is on an FPGA.
When you say IC, what are you talking about? Just
Sorry, integrated circuit. So it's just the little chips. So like these little silicon things, the little black guys with the so over time though, and this is going back to like what retro gaming pitfalls are and like what things you should maintain and go back on. So looking at these guys, they have these little electrolytic capacitors. Let me find one. Actually, on the power circuit, it's going to be easier to find. So these guys over here, if you see,
okay. Yeah.
Yep.
they store voltage and release it. So over time, these things degrade. And as they do, they leak fluid onto the PCBs, and it's a corrosive fluid. So if it's not cleaned up, it's not great for your motherboard, and you have to then send it off to be repaired or repair yourself by fixing traces. The same goes for batteries. If I bought an old Mac that came in and the battery exploded inside, and it took me 4 weeks to just repair all the traces. I had like 30 wires in there trying to figure stuff out. So if you don't maintain these and replace these components, they can be very expensive repairs. And, you know, these are your systems. You want to keep playing them. So what you can do is if you feel comfortable enough to do that yourselves, like they sell these kits which
Okay.
people put together. Console 5 is one of my favorite manufacturers for assemblers for them. They take all the components you need, put them in one little bag for you, and all you have to do is replace them. So if you have a Sega CD Model 1, a PC Duno, or a Game Gear, those are like some of the top things that I would look at replacing those caps as soon as possible. The Game Gear, probably right now, if you have one, it's probably gone because those caps are terrible.
Yeah. The Sega CD Model 1, is that the side one or the one that went underneath?
The tray.
The one underneath, the tray one.
Okay, because I have the I guess the second release that does not work. Well, it turns on, but the CDs doesn't spin anymore. Yeah.
Send it over. I'll take
Oh no, I plan to.
Hey, I just bought a Sega CD. Of course, I don't have a Genesis right now, but so I'm hoping that
yeah, we'll talk about that later.
What? I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm waiting to get a Genesis. So all right, so basically keeping old school systems, I can only imagine all the ones because of Anthony's collection, is like maintaining a car at some point that if you want to keep it on the road, you're gonna have to tinker with it.
Correct.
And how do you feel about that? You may need to start breaking into some of these old systems just to put a toothbrush to them.
By breaking into these systems, do you mean sending them to Jack?
I guess so at this point.
I'd be like, I really need to fix this. Hey, Jack, what are you doing?
It's good to know someone in the biz.
Yeah, because I'll be perfectly honest with you. Taking them apart is not something that I personally would look forward to doing, only because looking at it is like it's like learning a foreign language for me. It's like I don't understand it. I mean, I understand how they work, but I wouldn't know enough to go in there and start messing around. So,
and these are like some things that people just don't think about when they collect.
No.
And nostalgia is strong right now, so you get into it and you just start buying, but maintaining these things can cost like hundreds of thousands of dollars if you want.
I didn't realize it was that bad. You're
basically,
right.
Basically the cost of a sealed Super Mario Brothers 3 cartridge.
At certain points, absolutely.
But yeah, the first revision, yeah.
Oh, jeez.
But there's certain things that you should do and should buy, no matter if you feel comfortable with this, like the power adapters. Buying a quality one, not the ones off Amazon that say retro game power supply. Buy a quality one that can improve your experience a lot. Quality video cables. So buying more expensive shielded cables to prevent like that interference from happening, to like get a clear picture on screen. And like we talked about before, these upscalers, they do a great job of adding zero latency and making your picture look great on HDMI. So those are some things that you really should invest in if you're serious about playing retro consoles on HDMI monitors.
Yeah, I'm gonna need one of those.
Yeah. So one site I go to all the time, if you have a console or favorite console, is Retro RGB. They have mods for all these consoles and what the possibilities you can do. Like the NESs, I brought this out. Well, I brought this out also because I dislocated my shoulder and I can't lift the Xbox. But
oh no,
that's bad.
It's not bad.
And we know how heavy the Xbox is.
Yeah, it's a beast.
And that actually, now that we said Xbox, that has a capacitor on it that they put in to act like a battery, and that leaks all over Xboxes and destroys those motherboards. So as soon as you can, if you have an original Xbox, cut that thing out. That's the simplest mod you can do, and that'll save your Xbox.
Okay, how many of my consoles do I have to send to?
It's going to be cheaper for Jack to go to you.
Well, in my current state, I'll just come to him.
Pack the bags. Let's go. We got to catch. But the NES is interesting, where it was built for, this is where we go into like a little bit of modding stuff and what we can do. It was built for RF out and component out, or composite out. Sorry. So it's that little yellow cable that had all the video signals compressed into one thing. So not ideal. So the next upgrade that people would do is buy one of these RGB boards, and essentially that offsets. That's that little guy on here.
Okay.
And as you can see, like that has video processing, audio processing on it, and that offsets the built-in like outputs and makes them a lot better. So what you get is cleaner picture, but you'd have to have specific RGB hardware for that to make it work on a TV. But the end result is beautiful. I mean, these systems are gorgeous. Another thing that fails on these is like any mechanical parts. So like this little articulating thing.
Ah, yes.
people keep blowing on their carts or anything else. So replacing that with like a static one, like this guy over here.
Wait a minute, what? They sell that?
Yeah,
Wait,
it ruins the fun of the NES.
Right, of putting the cartridge in and pushing
Yeah.
it down.
But it also removes the annoyance of having that mechanical failure.
I don't know how I feel about that.
That's why it's in my hand and not in the system. I'm still just like,
you know how I feel about that? I feel great about that because I am tired of trying to get these things to sync up so my NES will work with my games. Well, because sometimes it takes like 5 or 10 minutes just to get the game working.
Yeah.
Do you ever do? I don't know. Maybe I don't know if I was the only one. Obviously, back in the day before there was internet, I still don't know how the information of blowing into a cartridge spread across the world. But nevertheless, besides that, you ever do the other thing where you would take the NES cartridge, you would lower it enough where it hits the edge of the NES, and then you kind of force it down into it? Oh, okay. That was another thing that we did. Okay,
I do that all the time.
That used to work for me as well. But I almost feel blasphemous on that other piece.
Well,
Yeah,
no, but
did
you ever though have an experience where you put the cartridge in, did not push it down and it worked? Because I've had that happen before.
No, I don't think I've ever done that.
No.
I thought my Nintendo was going to break.
No, I've had that happen a couple of times where I would just put the cartridge in and I'd turn the system on and it would work. And I have no idea what kind of magic was going on with that cartridge, but like, I was like, I'm not going to mess with it. The only problem with it was though, like, I think after playing a couple of minutes, like as soon as like there was any type of vibration in the system, like the game would stop.
Yep.
But still, I would get a game to run without actually pushing the cartridge down.
It can't work because what happens is those pins bend down when you push it down and kind of make connection with the cartridge. So it could have just been you had like nice tight connection.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice tight connection. There you go.
Yeah, you know what? It's the only one I've ever had in my life.
Oh, bingo. This is already being very. I'm so intrigued that this is very interesting.
Larry's going to take apart one of his consoles.
I'm just going to rip it. Like the Hulk. All right,
rip it like that Virtual Boy that I gave you.
You know what? It's been a very long time since you mentioned that, and it still hurts. Jack,
did you see that?
What?
Did you see the episode where I sent Larry his birthday gift?
Someone destroying the Virtual Boy. Wherever he is now, I don't know where he's going to be in post, but that guy destroying it.
You need to go back and see the video of Larry's birthday gift from me when I gave him a Virtual Boy that was sawed into pieces.
Jack, you'll cry.
No.
I mean, I still have the pieces too. So
heart's breaking already.
Oh,
so
best birthday gift ever.
There are ways to consoleize these systems too, which means that you're taking them from these portable devices.
Wait a minute,
like
Jack. Hold on, I'm interrupting you. Are you telling me right now you're about to tell us there's a way to get the Virtual Boy from the visor to your television?
Yep.
And let me tell you why it can't happen. No. Let me tell you why it can't happen with one that Larry currently has. Not only did it get sawed in half, but we also hit it with a friggin' hammer.
You did.
Oh no!
Mine may be very destroyed, but that's interesting.
It's in 1,000 pieces.
Yes, it really is.
Oh.
It hurts,
The
but
insides.
interesting to know about. Actually, you know what? All joking aside, I think that's like one of the newer crazes is trying to get a Virtual Boy on TV. We're not trying; people have.
But hey, if you want to try and put it back together, we'll gladly record that for the podcast.
A lot of crazy glue.
If the PCB's still intact or some semblance, let's give it a try.
Oh my,
probably not. So you're showing a lot of like with this, and it looks like you're, the labor of love that you're putting into the systems and everything. Talking about the output, I've always had this. I'm not going to call it an argument, but just a little back and forth where I'm like, okay, you can do all this to make an NES look absolutely crystal clear, gorgeous, the way God intended. But when we played it back in the day, we had terrible televisions compared to today. We had the scan lines. You know what I mean? It wasn't compared to almost the nostalgia factor should be not to have it pixel perfect, if you will. How do you feel about that kind of argument where like, well, it's kind of good to have the graininess because that's what it was like?
It depends because that graininess doesn't really translate well to HDMI monitors. So CRTs, if you're playing on a CRT and you plug it into composite, you'll have a good experience. And that's how I play it upstate. When we go upstate, I have like an NES hooked up to an old CRT with composite, nothing fancy. and it's great. But if I do that here through these converters and everything else, not the best experience. So the point of modding these consoles to get that picture that you need is to mod them to look good on current hardware too. And a lot of these consoles did have that nice RGB console output, like the Genesis, the Super Nintendos. They all can output RGB signals out. We just in America didn't have that sort of as our consumer hardware inputs. Like whereas in Japan and in Europe, we used SCART connectors like these guys, which had separate RGB signals, which had separate sync signals on there, and you get crystal clean picture on these nice monitors, and it's night and day. But
we know the Japanese better than us.
Well, well, that's the funny part is in Japan and Europe, this connector is the same, but the pinouts are different, so they're not interchangeable. So you have to be very careful with these when you're collecting. Geez. Yeah. So yeah, it's all personal taste, right? And start off with just getting the console and a nice upscaler like this guy, or something from RetroTink, or a cable that can do really good picture. And then just see what you want to improve. Don't just go off and like go crazy like I did.
There's nothing wrong with it if you like it, but
no, absolutely. Yeah. If you have the budget and you have the time and the energy, do it. It's fun. I love it. But if you want to just get your foot in the door on this stuff, start with just the console. And right now, I'm loving the ROM cards for the specific purpose of the new translations that they're coming out with, the hacks, like for the Super Nintendo, for Gradius 3, they use the SA1 chip on the cartridges to speed up the game so that it plays without lag. So you know, like sometimes when all the sprites came out, the game slowed down and got really easy because you could avoid all the things. It was just like, oh, this is great.
That's how I played
Super Mario World, all these things. And not only that, but there's new games coming out. Like, have you guys played Tanglewood at all?
No, I haven't. No.
Beautiful Genesis game. So it came out and you can download it on Steam, and it comes with the little ROM inside too that you can dump on a cartridge and play on an actual hardware. Beautiful little puzzle game. It's like a one-shot kill. You're playing this little fox in this like really gorgeous world, and it's like a puzzler game, but it's a phenomenal game, and people are actually actively developing for these old gaming consoles still.
Which is really cool. But that just while you were talking about that, I had a question. Like when you download these ROMs off Steam and everything like that, are you able to actually put it into a working cartridge?
Yes.
That's awesome.
And the way the developer licenses it, you can, right? So in some cases, like if you actually can versus like if they allow you to in the license or to different things. So this is a very gray area sometimes, but specifically with Tanglewood, I think it's allowed.
I've been seeing that more and more on, all joking aside, on the Kickstarters. Sometimes you can pay a little less to get the ROM, to get just the ROM. And then they say, yeah, you can put it on like an EverDrive, or you can put it onto an actual cart if you're able to do that to play on your old system. So I think that's kind of like the next wave. And Jack, like even you're saying, there's a lot of these new independent publishers who are just kind of doing their own thing. The last couple of episodes, I showed some of the games. Dedius that I got on Game Boy. Again, that was an independent publisher who just released the game on a Game Boy. I just ordered Genesis, a shoot 'em up, brand new for the Game Boy, and that weird Tetris clone that I haven't played yet. So that's kind of becoming the new thing as well. And they're just ROMs on carts. Yeah. Well, everything's a ROM on cart.
I was just going to say, yeah, that's exactly what games are.
Now, Jack, looking at how you've been tinkering with the old stuff, do you, because I've seen some modifications on, when I say newer systems, I would say people are probably tinkering. You said maybe up to the Xbox.
Saturn Plus, you mean?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, up to the Saturn is what I've been looking into, because I just recently got a Saturn. I got the Dreamcast. And I saw some mods to those systems that I thought were pretty interesting, that would allow, and we've talked about it in the past, and about the emulation, because that's kind of what we're getting into. Just a pure, dumping 100 games or 1,000 games onto here and playing. And we can talk about that in a minute. But Jack, I just want to get your idea on some of these mods on these newer systems. When I say newer, meaning like Dreamcast, Saturn.
Sure. Yeah.
Have you done them? Because I saw one real quick. Like basically, they just took the laser out of the CD tray and just put a casing in, and literally just a mini micro SD card, excuse me, just put right in the middle and let it run. Oh, he's moving. He's on the move.
I think we're gonna get a visual.
So just like this. So inside you see this is my Dreamcast. It's HDMI modded, and it has a cart inside.
Yeah.
So this replaced the ODE. My laser died, so don't go throwing off good lasers.
Laser.
But what it does allow you to do is just dump all these CDs on there, and speeds up access times a little bit, but to the most part, they try to get them to most accurately like emulate the CD drives themselves. And a cool thing I did also is if you see that little port, that's an HDMI port.
Oh wow!
So look at
that. This mod bypasses the analog circuitry completely and outputs a clean HDMI signal.
Wow!
And it's updatable via Wi-Fi. They're doing really cool.
Wait a minute. Did you just say that you modified that to be Wi-Fi?
Sorry. The person that created the circuitry, it's all updated since it's FPGA, and like we talked about. If you wanted to fix an NES, you're desoldering components, right? If you want to fix an error on FPGA, you just upload a new version of the code.
That's awesome.
You have a completely new chip, right?
Awesome.
So it's firmware updatable, and just the picture is amazing.
And what's now, there's a lot, like you have the retro pies that are out there, that you just these little boxes that will take in a micro SD card. Yeah, and then you have like 50,000 games on it.
I love them.
But what I was going to say was to modify that system, to modify a Dreamcast, to take an SD card, to play those emulators. I guess you're better off doing that because then you're taking advantage of the hardware as opposed to a retro Pi that's got to emulate everything.
Yeah, correct. With the whole caveat that you're replacing the capacitors and you're making sure the system's in working order, because these do sometimes add load or they take load off the system. Like for this one, for the Dreamcast specifically, you have to take out a voltage regulator so it doesn't have like one specific line of voltage. So all you need is 5 volts for the whole system right now.
Wow.
So yeah, they're great. And for the most part, the Saturn's the easiest. I bought the Phoenix. I forgot what it's the Fenrir. And the Fenrir is just this little SD card reader. The Saturn, if you want to get like ROM cards, these ODEs or optical drive emulators, they're just pretty much plug and play because for the system, it looks like an old, it looks like a CD-ROM, right? So your system won't know the difference. But for you, you don't have to keep getting up, switching consoles, and you can dump all your legally bought nice ROMs onto it. And plus, like we talked about, brand new games. Like the Dreamcast just came out with some translations that there's just Japanese games that were phenomenal, but unless you spoke the language, it was just like inaccessible to you. But now that people are modding these consoles and modding these, they have translation hacks that are beautiful, and it's just like it opens up a whole new version of retro gaming for people.
Which is good because I secretly hope we can get the rest of Shining Force 3 one day.
Oh yeah,
that'd be amazing if they did that because we only got like book 1.
Yeah, the US version was only the first one.
Yeah. It's funny. I just also recently learned with Dreamcast, and this is just out of the box Dreamcasts. I think before a certain production run, Dreamcasts were able to play copied CDs straight out of the box.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Oh yeah. No, I had a couple of like back then, with music CDs, where I would just, like I had a copy from a friend or something. I would throw that into my Dreamcast. It would just play.
Well, no, that's different. Music CDs were different.
Games.
I'm talking about actual games. Yeah,
oh,
I didn't. Yeah,
that I never did that.
I did. It would have helped in college because I was poor. But I admit it. I did it with the PlayStation. Someone was at the college was selling this little adapter you plugged into the back of the original PlayStation. It acted as like a giant memory card, but it also let you play copied games. You just had to put a spring in to trick the system. That was as far as modding went back in the late 90s. Yeah. Just put a spring in to trick the PlayStation. And then when that happened, I'm like, let's go to Blockbuster, and then I just started going crazy. But knowing that the Dreamcast straight out of the box did that was kind of weird to learn recently.
Yeah, I didn't know that because the Dreamcast I know had like the G ROMs and they weren't CD-ROMs. They were like 1 GB things with this protected first track that was just like hard to copy. So I didn't know that.
Yeah,
well,
it's weird.
I guess that prevented people from copying the discs, not from the Dreamcast reading it. Okay. Yeah. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, that part I never did. For the
Did
PlayStation,
I bring something to the table?
You actually
always
did.
do.
Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately. I remember with my PlayStation, I bought whatever it was to convert it with the spring and everything like that, but that was to play Japanese games, not to play copied games. And that worked really well for Japanese games because I imported a couple of games back then.
Yep.
When I used to work at a video store.
Yes, that was that. Worked out real well.
Exactly, because I would just order stuff in and I'd be like, okay, cool, I'm gonna play this. And games that were not released in the US, which was really cool back in the 90s. It's I got a game from Japan before eBay came out.
No, a lot of those games that you picked up were awesome. So Jack, let me get your opinion on something here as far as now we're starting to talk about emulators and emulation and stuff like that. So, okay, yes, it's 2021. There is a library of games out there, and just more and more people are starting to go the emulation route where, hey, look, I can just download Super Mario Brothers or this $1,500 Sega CD game. I just download it onto a cart, throw it into an EverDrive or whatever, and play to my heart's content. And we want your honesty. We're not going to be hurt if you feel completely different. But like, what are your thoughts on emulations and dumping all these old games onto a card and just kind of running with it?
So my personal stance on this is,
and the cops are listening as well.
The cops are right next door to me, but it's a gray area, right? So the publishers themselves are not making, these are all used game sales at this point. So it's sort of just like a backwards, like artificially inflated market right now. So you're not, other than like IP and like copyrighted stuff, you're not really taking away from publishers like revenue streams anymore, right? With these old consoles. I loved Panzer Dragoon Saga. I am not going to buy it because it's around the cost of rent. So it's just like,
it's gone up since then.
No.
I think I saw it on eBay, I think for like $3,000 or $4,000.
Oofa.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
So I think there's a fine line between old games and piracy. So if here I have like the Switch games, if I'm taking those and illegally downloading and illegally modifying my Switch to play new games, I'm taking money away from companies, which is not right. If I love the thing, I should buy the thing. That's my stance. Retro gaming right now has gotten to a ridiculous price, right? Like if you want to play Sega CD games, a broken Sega CD unit on eBay is going to cost you like $200, which is like ridiculous.
Yep.
So for me, I don't blame people, and I am one of those people that will just download a bunch of stuff, hack a bunch of stuff like with ROM mods or translations, and find which things I really like. Because for me, like these games are meant to be played, and I can't afford to play any of these games, and there's no Blockbuster for me to go rent these games. So for me to be able to download a breadth of games and just like try them out and play them out, and if I like it, I'll go and collect it because I'm a collector, right? I do have like 3 shelves worth of cartridges, right? But I don't blame people for that. And there's benefits to software emulation too, right? I mean, it's cheaper for people to get into. You buy a Raspberry Pi or even on your computer, like there's a GameCube emulator called Dolphin, and it can make your games look beautiful. And it's just like a different experience. It's simple for people to get started. And if you just like zoom out, the whole point of all of this is because you have a passion for games, right? You want to play those games. So like how you get access to those games is really depend on your budget, your skill sets, and all these other things, right? So software emulation, those developers are very smart people. And for most part, you're getting an amazing experience on these Raspberry Pis that are faster, like the Raspberry Pi 4 right now. RetroPie on that thing is really great. I like that experience. But then there's the second level of like FPGAs and the new wave of things are going out. So I guess before I make a purchase, I always zoom out and say, is this nostalgia driving this? Or is this just like something that I actually want that's just like driving me to like play these games that I love?
You know, real quick, you made a very interesting point. And I don't know why I never thought about it. You said used. You know, all these games that we're buying nowadays are used. They're being bought secondhand. So the game, even with a Switch, you sell a Nintendo Switch game back to GameStop, or Game On out here in Long Island. You know, you sell it back and then they resell it. That's already used. So Nintendo's not getting the extra money, which is also why Nintendo tried putting a stop to rentals back in the day. But I kind of never thought of it that way. So I understand your point, and I want to hear your thoughts on what he said, but I kind of understand that point of like, all right, well, you know, the industry's not making money off of it anymore.
Yeah, one clarifier would be just like the Switch that they take back and resell. The Switch game itself is still like a valid thing that Nintendo itself can sell or is selling.
Oh, no, I know what you're talking. Yeah, I think I
just wanted to clarify that point. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think you're talking more along the lines of like when things are out of print. Like in other words, it's like, okay, we're not making any more, so we're not going to be selling it new anymore. Then automatically, it's like the developer or the console company, whatever it is, like they're the ones that are kind of conceding. It's like, that's it, it's done for us. We've made our profit. We're not going to make any more off of it. Everything after that point is going to be secondhand. So, it's not like I can't go to Nintendo and say, hey, I want a copy of Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo. They're going to turn to me and be like, yeah, we don't make that anymore.
Who are you and how do you get through security?
Yeah, exactly. Well, there was that part too. But I hacked my way in.
There you go.
But yeah, so it does make complete sense when you talk about emulation in that sense, because if you're not buying it directly from the people that are making it so that they're making the profit, there's really no other way to access it. And as time goes on, also, it's like you're looking at, and these were some news articles that came up a month ago or something, like, and we've talked about this before, but like there's a game archive online now that has like 30,000 games in it. About a month ago, 700 PlayStation 2 games were posted online, and the purpose to put them all online is for people to play them. Developers aren't going after these because, again, to your point, they're not making new ones. They're not selling them. So it's the only other way to really access it without going to essentially a secondhand seller to buy it from.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. Is like, if a developer like Nintendo issues a remake of a game that's out of print, buy the remake. I mean, give them a chance. But like
Larry does that every time. He has 40 copies of Super Mario Brothers.
Almost digitally and physically
with all the versions. But I draw a fine line between emulation and ROMs. So emulation is 100% legal. All these developers are doing is in software trying to recreate to as accurate as possible these old consoles, but the ROMs that input into them are the kind of gray area. But emulation is great, and FPGAs are the next level of mimicking hardware.
And that's what I want to mention right now. And it's been amazing. I mean, Jack, you bring a lot to the show, and this has been awesome. And I kind of want to get your thoughts now on something, because you're talking about FPGA versus emulation. Recently I finally got I've been tinkering a lot with
no, you haven't.
Old systems. No, not physically tinkering, because I'll kill myself.
You haven't been. Let's use a correct word.
I've been buying
yes.
A lot of these clone systems, and I started out getting Hyperkin, the company Hyperkin, who I love. They're a great company. They put out a lot of clone systems for years. They just put out their Hyperkin Retron SP, I think it's called. Basically their Game Boy system that you can plug into the TV that supposedly is running really good. But a lot of people complain because that's all emulation. And I'm like, I don't care. I've always said Hyperkin is Kmart versus like Analog, who's Ferrari, as far as the type of systems. You pay for what you get, and that's fine. When I got the NES, the Hyperkin's NES HD, someone pointed out that it's not really running correctly, which made me mad. But then the Super Nintendo was cool. But then as time went on, I went to order the Polymega. And the Polymega, even though it was going to be all emulation, I'm like, this is going to be pretty cool. And then we had the saga from a couple weeks ago where I'm like, you know what? I'm done with Polymega. I've waited 2.5 years. I'm done. So then I finally now got then I've tried the Retro Freak. I also have a Retrobit Trio that plays 3 systems there. Because I had to throw the Retro Freak out because I just got frustrated with that one. And then I bought a second Hyperkin Nintendo because the first one, the doors broke on it on top, you know, like where you put the cart. And I got mad and I threw that out too. So I got that second one. But I'm probably going to throw those out anyway because now I have analog. And analog is Fpga. Analog, you know, I have the NES and the Super NES. And they are gorgeous. I've been playing them. They're amazing. I texted the owner of Game On literally the other day, said, my love for retro gaming has now reloved retro gaming because of how all this is. So what are your thoughts then on like these clone systems, like analog versus Hyperkin? Because I've kind of gone through a few of them, and I think I finally hit what I'm looking for.
Yeah, so that's exactly a good point. Is with your budget, and you get what you pay for
what?
with Hyperkin.
Oh, what?
So
Yeah.
Bouger, they call it.
Well, you know.
But your point is right. You get what you pay for, and with analog, you get FPGA cycle accurate emulation system. Like they have a developer that does these, Kevtris, I forgot his name. Super smart guy, super passionate about retro gaming. They also, you know, upsell you on the shipping, which is right. I don't like that, but Hyperkin itself, you get what you pay for. It's nostalgia writing emulated systems that are sometimes good, sometimes not. Variable latency all over the place. So for me, I'd rather buy a Raspberry Pi if I'm going emulation route, rather than Hyperkin or something else. And if you know you where you stand on the ROMs things, get a ROM dumper, dump your ROMs legally, do it the right way, and then put them on a Raspberry Pi if that's your thing. You'll get a much better experience, in my opinion. And mostly because the community that runs the RetroPie stuff, that runs all this other stuff, they're passionate about what they're doing, and it's all free open source stuff. So this is labor of love that they go into, rather than a company that is trying to get multiple product lines out, that might not have regular updates for these products, that might leave you hanging. Whereas like this community is just open and honest, and they'll fix stuff for you because they themselves are the same gamers as you are. Cool. Not to say that Hyperkin, you know, the people that work there aren't, but their products, you get what you pay for.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's interesting too, Larry, that you bring up literally all of the systems that you purchased and thrown out because
what am I going to do with them?
Well, you know, but also it just brings up something that we should talk about with you. And since you said this was a safe space earlier, and Jack has been listening to our show for quite some time, so I think it's time that we had a little talk with you.
We love you, Larry.
Yeah, we love you.
I just met you, Jack.
We love you, man. We care about you. We support you, but we're concerned.
This is an intervention.
Wait, what are you talking about?
We think you have a problem.
I mean, I have a shelf full of liquor, but I don't drink it every night. I mean,
no. Well, see, there are other problems besides liquor, and Jack, we'll talk to you about that separately. But but you know, with all of the frivolous spending that you've done with your consoles, and you're getting angry and throwing them out, or not even thinking about returning them for refunds. It's, you know, we think you're out of control.
I mean, I've gone through, all right, I've probably discarded a good handful of systems. I have emailed, like I remember emailed Hyperkin about the door, but I was like, you know what, forget it. I'll just do that. You know, I'll just get a new one. Sometimes it's easier to buy a new one. The Joy-Cons, you know, Joy-Con drift started happening. Instead of returning it to Nintendo, you know, just buy new ones. It's easier.
But it's not easier because you've paid for these things,
and
if they will replace them for nothing. All you need to do is send it back to them. It's the same thing as you getting up and or either ordering something or going to the store and buying it, except you're sending it back to them for free, and then they're sending it back to you for free. So, perfect example. When I got my Nintendo Switch and I was playing Zelda and I noticed the Joy-Con drift on my left Joy-Con, I contacted Nintendo and they told me, they're like, okay, you need to send back the entire Switch in order for us to test it and make sure that, you know, we need to replace it. And I did not have my Switch for a month. Was it a little inconvenient? Yes. I was like, but I didn't run out and spend $100 on new Joy-Cons or even like a new Switch because I thought maybe the Switch was the problem. It's like, they did everything for me, and it was fine, and it didn't cost me a dime.
But but Hyperkin, like when I had the Hyperkin systems, I realized it's not, there are some issues with them. That's when I'm like, I mean, even though I have the Hyperkin sitting in the back, I have the Retrobit system sitting in the back. But then when I got essentially, I guess now my third or fourth NES clone system that I have in the apartment, when I got to the, sometimes you got to go through that to get to where the ends justify the means. Now I'm at the analog, and I've learned the hard way, because I had the analog on order originally, then I canceled it because I thought it would be cheaper to get the Hyperkin. I mean,
right, but you can also learn.
That was a long time ago.
You can also learn through proper research and asking people their professional opinion on things, and having just a little bit of patience.
That's a virtue. That's tough to find.
Do I have a solution for you though?
And Jack has a solution for you.
For only $9.99.
We're only 20 payments in. So like we were talking about FPGAs and like all these old consoles that are being recreated on FPGAs. There's a project called the Mister, and this is
what the hell is that?
This is
This is a Mister. He just said it. He just said it.
This is a FPGA emulation device. So inside here, like you can see the HDMI port. I can output to like an actual CRT on this thing. But the cores that are on this thing, you have anything up to the NES, Ataris. They are now taking arcade boards and putting them on here. So arcade board collecting, if anyone knows, is an insanely expensive hobby.
Oh, I can only imagine.
So the worth of this, thank God for MAME, exactly. But this is the actual arcade boards on there, up to the CPS2 that they're trying to do on right now, which like will give you Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter and all this. Is it Mortal Kombat CPS2? I don't remember. Street Fighter definitely, but so basically what they are these little boards. So this is like an FPGA right there.
Okay.
And these are boards sent out to developers. And all you need is a RAM stick on there and an SD card and a USB dongle. And you're off to the races with like hundreds of consoles, including old computers like the Amiga. It does Amiga emulation. It does 486 emulation, so you can run your DOS games on this.
Ooh,
that sounds really interesting.
That.
I guess I do have a confession. You guys.
It's okay. You can admit this.
No. I'm cool. No, I'm cool. But Ant, we've been doing this podcast for a very long time. We've known each other forever. Jack, I just met you. But what you're doing. You're a cool guy.
And he loves you.
I may have in the past, even though we talked about emulators, I may have in the past went out and purchased a modded classic NES Mini with an external hard drive that had over 20,000 games on it.
Tisk.
Safe space, let it out, man.
Yeah, it's all right. It's okay. We're all friends here.
I probably played it twice.
Like everything else in your collection, yes. I mean, you did just buy a Dreamcast with no games.
To be fair, I thought I had the games. I didn't realize Ms. Pac-Man Maze Madness was on the PlayStation. I must have rebought it down the road. So I may have dealt with some emulation already. I also bought a RetroPie on a Raspberry Pi, so I've done that as well. That one I gave away though. And then I went out and
the one you should have kept, you gave away.
Yes, because that probably cost me less money than the modded NES Mini, which then I spent more money to send it back out to have it upgraded than to come back, and I haven't really touched it. Okay, maybe I spend a little more than I should on a lot of this stuff but I don't have the time, I think, like Jack does, because, I'm so ashamed.
No, and you know what? You touched on something good. It's like people don't have the time to tinker, right? They just want to play. And if you do,
oh my God,
Mr.
this is
Project
terrible.
Man,
this is terrible.
Oh, it's the worst thing we've ever done.
I think it quite literally is. That was a very Razzie-like performance.
I'm sorry, Jack. You were saying?
Oh no. I was just joking. But to your point, like, if you want to get the most bang for the buck while retaining cycle accurate hardware emulation right now, the Mister project is just booming, and it's an amazing thing, to the point where they're thinking that they can even support PS1 in the future.
Wow.
So
Yeah, a lot of these systems, old poor acting aside, a lot of these systems always have issues with the PS1, the N64, stuff like that.
PS1 less. The N64 was super hard to emulate.
Stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
I have one final question, at least for Jack, on his idea. Just want to get your idea on this. So I saw you modding, like to get those outputs beautiful and everything like that. Again, maybe it could be as simple as answers. Just again, if you can afford it, you can get it. Like the Hyperkin HDMI adapters. Okay, well, all my systems are hooked up with them.
At that point, like we said, buy a scaler, buy this guy and good cables, because the Hyperkin ones add variable latency, which for me, I go play games by muscle memory at this point.
Yeah, right.
So it just messes me up. And I can actually tell the difference, and so can
I believe it.
Yeah, they're not great. You get what you pay for. Buy something better, save $200 and invest in something nice that'll make your picture quality look amazing.
Well, and it's also like that piece that you just showed. You just have to buy the one piece, because then it's just a standard HDMI cable that hooks up.
Yep.
I guess you can put that through a splitter. Oh, I didn't think of that.
Yeah, so you can have multiple things hooked up to this if you have like a selector beforehand. They do make
like if you have a switcher, like I have a switcher, like I have the composite switcher.
Yep.
So hook everything up to the switcher, and then on the switcher output, you just plug it into that.
Yep.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, and if you have retro gaming consoles, that's the way to go. But like I was saying, if you're going any FPGA route, really, really, really check out the Mister project. I can't emphasize that enough. It's been just like such a game changer, because all these components, the scalers, which upscale it to like 5x, and pixel perfect, like that RGB modding, those audio mods, everything is built into that system. So your upfront cost of like probably $400 for the whole package, like a fully loaded out Mister, will save you thousands in the long run. So it's just amazing.
See, Larry, for me, you can save money. This is a good this is a good thing.
You just see half the stuff I throw away my money on. But in any event, no, that was a lot to absorb, really, at this point. And do you have any other questions or anything you're curious about?
No, I mean,
not about me. You can ask Jack.
No, well, my first question was going to be, Larry, are you okay?
I'm fine. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm fine.
No, and no, Jack.
Oh, we're not continuing that. Okay.
No, we're not. No, we're not. We're just going to leave that alone. You can go cry for the rest of the day. I don't care. I'm a good friend, I swear. No, Jack, everything was just super informative. I don't have questions right now, of course. I will look up the Mister project, because I'm very interested in that.
Yeah.
But of course, if I have any questions, I'll just ask you when we play games. So
sorry for bumping into you all the time, man.
Yeah, no, I know exactly. Yeah, we play Rocket League. And,
okay.
And Jack just has he just has this thing where instead of going after the other team, he likes to run me off the road in the game. He just loves to hit me.
I get that feeling sometimes too, Jack. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's okay. Unfortunately, with Larry, though, he always misses.
Baboom. So, Jack, do you have anything to promote? I don't know. Like, do you have a social media or anything like that?
I have nothing.
How the hell do you not have social media in 2020?
I'm an online ghost.
He's the new Unabomber.
Holy cow.
If you are interested in any of this, check out mrfpga.org. If you are interested in modding old consoles, check out retrorgb.com, and they will teach you how to do things safely and how to do things well. And there's just a ton of stuff to cover. So really check out things if you're interested.
Or just send stuff to Jack. He has a PO box. No.
Yeah, I think you just might have found a new form of side income.
Yeah, side business. Hello.
Yeah, Jack, send us all the links afterwards. We'll put them up on the YouTube. We'll put them up on the podcast descriptions, so people can definitely check it out. And folks, we're gonna wrap this one up. We went a little long, but we hope you enjoyed this. Jack, thank you very much.
Thank you,
for Jack, joining us.
Having me. Yeah, this was fun.
This is probably the most educational show we've had since Dr. Bean.
Oh, do I have to put like an EI bug on this thing?
Maybe. Educational and informative.
Yeah, I'll just put it over your face.
Hurts. It hurts every time. It hurts.
And yet I still do it. It's
And-
because I care. Safe space.
Of course. Where can they find us?
You guys can find us on Facebook.com/RetroGamersPodcast, on Instagram @RetroGamersPodcast, on Twitter @RetroGamersPod. You can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts. We are absolutely everywhere. Or you can watch us on YouTube and IGTV if Larry is putting it up, as he said earlier. Which better be.
I missed a couple of weeks.
We'll catch up, man.
I will. We keep making these long. I only put up an hour.
I know, but well, you know what? It doesn't stop me from doing it, you slacker.
You can find me curled up under the bed later on tonight. So
Don't worry.
I'll think about all this.
I'll give you a safety call later, just to check in.
Again, Jack, thank you very much. And folks out there, if you have your thoughts, your opinions, on emulations, on mods, maybe some cool mods that you've done or whatever, definitely hit us up on the Facebook, on the Instagram, wherever you can find us. Definitely interested in looking into it. This is a new world I've kind of just become familiar with, because when I'm posting a lot of these new systems, I'm new to me systems, a lot of people are saying, oh, check out these mods and stuff. So I'm just starting to get my feet wet into this. But I'm looking forward to it. And again, Jack, enjoy. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack.
Have a wonderful week. I didn't get a chance to ask you where the hell you are, but I guess we can do that next time.
No, I'm still home.
Okay.
I'm still in my home, just a different room.
You actually put up a wall. Behind that wall are all the systems.
Yeah, basically.
And
Unlike
folks,
New York, he has different rooms.
Yeah, there's more than one. Yeah, there's more than one room in Florida.
This is true. And folks, we will catch you everywhere next week on the Retro Gamers Podcast. All right.
Cool.
Hour 6. Not bad at all.
Yes.
Okay, found it. All right. First of all, we definitely want to give a shout out to our buddy here, Tim Bear Nixon on Facebook, giving us a heads up about this. I did catch my eye on it. It's 20 days to go as of the recording of this podcast. It's called PyPacker, and it basically allows you to play. Oh, I thought only Super Nintendo, but it looks like there's adapters to it. Play old school games, multiplayer, online.
Yes, and I am very interested in this.
This thing looks really interesting.
And I honestly think we've been trying to find ways to game together and stream. This may be the way to go now.
No, totally. So just long story short, you plug it into your computer. I assume, I haven't read much into it, but I'm assuming all parties have to have the cartridge. And actually, maybe not. No, maybe you can just dial in, because everyone didn't need a cartridge back then.
No, I think it's just one person needs a cartridge.
It plays NES games, Super Nintendo games, and it will play Mega Drive/Genesis games.
Yep.
As time goes on, they can unlock Game Boy games and stuff like that, and local multiplayer mode. As of this recording, they needed $75,000 to reach their goal. They have almost $143,000, 828 backers. Check it out. Actually, you can just go to pypacker.com, and then it will bring you to the Kickstarter. And this might be the way to go.
Yeah, I think so. I think we should definitely look at getting it.
Yeah, just real quick, just to users create account, play multiplayer retro games online, no installation required, directly playing in your Chrome browser.
It is membership based, by the way.
Okay, fair enough. Does it say how much a month?
No.
Okay, no problem. There are 60 plus licensed retro games pre-installed and ready to play. So there's going to be games in it already, which is good.
Yes.
And then, of course, you can bring your own games digitally for premium members or physically, thanks to their
Proprietary
cartridge reader, the Pi Reader. So yeah, no, this thing looks really interesting. As far as backing it, I think to get the physical system,
it's $100.
All right, that's not. You know what? That's actually not bad at all.
No, because when you think about all the other pieces that we've bought, like they usually run more than that.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
So,
what I love though are their levels, because you go from $100 to 180 to 1,500.
yeah, look at that. Wow.
Very big jump.
All right, fair enough. So this is now for me, Tim, as you're probably aware, I almost do every Kickstarter that comes across my desk.
Yes.
But it sounds like if Ant backs a Kickstarter, then it's something special.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave this up on my screen and do a deeper dive, but because this may be the one to buy. Because I mean, like I said, we've struggled for a while now to do streaming.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've wanted to stream like where we're actually playing the same game together as opposed to other stuff.
Yeah.
And this may be the answer for us.
This very well might be the answer.
So
all right, so we'll keep an eye out on it. We got about 1 or 2 more episodes before it finishes, so we'll see where that goes.
yes.
All right, we had a little bit of an extra long episode, but I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. Tim, thank you very much for the recommendation.
Yes, thank you, Tim.
And with that, Ant, have a wonderful week.
You have a great week as well, sir.
And we will catch you everywhere next week on the Retro Gamers Podcast.